Two Midwest pastors have founded the Turtle Island Project. They say the world is at a critical environmental crossroads that demands stopping human abuse and waste of the planet's natural resources. The Turtle Island Project in northern Michigan promotes respecting Native American heritage and using the knowledge of Earth-based cultures to address the world's environmental crisis. One of the pillars of the Turtle Island Project is the creation of a new North American theology that the pastors hope will encourage religious tolerance and a new respect for nature.
But we do know that a change in consciousness must begin if our planet and we are to survive.
The founders of the Turtle Island Project are Project Director Reverend Dr. Lynn Hubbard and Turtle Island Project Board Chairman George Cairns. Reverend Hubbard is a founder-director of the Turtle Island Project that's based in Munising, Michigan. He is pastor at Eden-on-the-Bay Lutheran Church in Munising. In addition to graduating from Valparaiso University and holding advanced degrees from the Lutheran School of Theology and Chicago Theological Seminary, Reverend Hubbard has studied at a specialized university in Germany and the Religious Studies Department at the University of Indiana, as well as the Divinity School at the University of Chicago. For many years, Reverend Hubbard worked as the Associate Dean of Rockefeller Chapel at the University of Chicago. He has served at a number of churches throughout the Chicago area and lived on the island of St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, pastoring at two Afro-Caribbean Lutheran congregations. Reverend Hubbard has had extensive experience in both the interfaith and ecumenical communities and served as the Director of Development for the Parliament of the World's Religions. Most recently, in working as his capacity as Spiritual Director for Juvenile Sex Offenders, he has given national and international conference presentations on creating a ritual process for juvenile sex offenders from a cross-cultural perspective. Reverend Hubbard travels regularly to the Lakota Sioux reservations in South Dakota, where he helps prepare graduate theological students in cross-cultural ministerial training. He has been honored by members of a tribe of the Lakota people in being asked to serve as a firekeeper for their Sundance ceremonies.
Reservations, the Rosebud and the Pine Ridge reservations in South Dakota. I started going there a number of years ago when I was a doctoral student at Chicago Theological Seminary. I met a woman who was teaching at the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago by the name of Claude Marie Barbour, who was a Presbyterian minister and had spent a lot of time in South Africa. And she had started going out on the reservations to the Rosebud and the Pine Ridge reservations in South Dakota. And I took a class from her, and I started going out to those reservations myself and bringing graduate students there who was studying. This was part of their cross-cultural ministerial education. And through that experience, I saw a little bit about what the life of my friends were like, my Lakota friends in South Dakota. And part of what the Turtle Island Project is concerned with is giving voice to Native American peoples, because so often their voice has been lost and that they have been spoken for by Euro-American peoples.
And the other founder of the Turtle Island Project is Reverend Dr. George F. Cairns. Reverend Cairns is chairman of the board of the Turtle Island Project. Reverend Cairns is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. He's a professor of practical and spiritual theology at the Chicago Theological Seminary and is a clinical psychologist. Dr. Cairns helped form the Parliament of the World's Religions, and with Wayne Teasdale wrote and edited a book about this process. Reverend Cairns' current work concerns Celtic spirituality, centering prayer, and their integration into a theology of practical action for healing, justice, and peace. Dr. Cairns has practiced and taught centering prayer since 1986. He has taught centering prayer in several unusual settings, including a Native American cultural center and a maximum security prison. He has published papers on this work.
What we have lost is participative consciousness, which understands that our lives are profoundly related to the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of all creation. Another way of putting this is that we are completely relational beings. Reconnection with all of creation as sacred and responsive and alive is our great task for the 21st century. We will examine and integrate the profound gifts of these resources. We will also engage in exercises to begin to open ourselves and to deepen our relationships with all of creation. We have living guides to help us, such as Celtic spirituality, Native American spirituality, and postmodern science.
Reverend Cairns and his wife Nancy have taught an early and little-known Christian practice known as jubilation. This form of sung praise produces a whole chord of sound by an individual. When practiced in a community, sound appears which no one is making. Reverend Cairns is a former member of the Forge Guild, an international group which encourages spiritual teachers from different religious traditions to explore one another's practices, and belongs to the Spiritual Directors International. Reverend Cairns and his wife Nancy are also associate members of two covenantal Christian communities, the Iona community based in Scotland and the Shalom community based in Chicago. Reverends Hubbard and Cairns are also the fathers of the new North American theology. You'll be hearing a lot more about the North American theology. I'm Greg Peterson, and you're watching Turtle Island Television.